If you're here, it means you slept well, right?
Was that?
If you're,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Asatara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gogopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai. Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dhamma Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai. Gangamaya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskachadeshatarane Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpajubhischa Kripasindhavebhata Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. July 12, 2026, in New Goloka, Hillsborough, North Carolina. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 75, Text 23. Bandhum Gnatim Nirpam Mitra Suridonyamsta Sarvasha Abhikshnam Pujayamasha Narayana Paro Nirpa. Please chant. Bandhum Gnatim Nirpam Mitra Suridonyamsta Sarvasha Abhiksham Pujayamasha. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Narayanam Paro Nirpa. Suridonyamsta Sarvashaha Abhikshnam Pujayamasha Narayana Paro Nirpa. Bandhum Gnatim Nirpam Nitra Suridonyamsta Sarvashaha Abhikshnam Pujayamasa Narayana Paro Nirpa. Bandhun, his more distant relatives. Gnatim, his immediate family members. Nripan, the kings. Mitra, his friends. Surida, and well-wishers. Anyan, others. Cha, also. Sarvashaha, in all sorts of ways. Abhikshnam, constantly. Pujayam asha, worshipped. Narayana para, devoted to Lord Narayana. Ripa, the king. So this is the end of the Rajasuya Yajna. BBT translation. In various ways, King Yudhishthira, who had totally dedicated his life to Lord Narayana, continuously honored his relatives, his immediate family, the other kings, his friends and well-wishers, and all others present as well. Reading from Krishna book. He, King Yudhishthira, constantly worshipped his friends, his family members, his relatives, his well-wishers, and everyone present. And because he was a Vaishnava, a great devotee of Lord Narayana, he knew how to treat everyone well. The Mayavadi philosopher's endeavor to see everyone as God is an artificial attempt at oneness, but a Vaishnava, or a devotee of Lord Narayana, sees every living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, a Vaishnava's treatment of other living entities is on the absolute platform. As one cannot treat one part of his body differently from another part, because they all belong to the same body. A Vaishnava does not see a human being as distinct from an animal, because in both he sees the soul and the supersoul seated together. Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary. The previous verse mentioned that others were also honored. Now those others are described. He honored intimate friends, bandhun, like Krishna, relatives, gnatim, like Bhishma, other friends, mitra, like Virata, and other relatives, surada, like Drupada. Of course, Drupada was his father-in-law. They were all kings, Nripan. Others indicates neutral kings. The list is from most intimate to least intimate. He worshipped them in that order. Then Srila Sanatana Goswami quotes one of the prayers of Lord Brahma to Krishna. After Lord Brahma, we had that nice meditation, right, the other weekend, about Lord Brahma stealing the cowherd boys and the calves, and then his prayers. So this is in that section after he comes back and sees all them manifest as Vishnu. This is 10:14:14. Narayanas tvam hi sarvam dehinam atmas yadik shila lokashakshi narayanongnam narabhu jalayanat touch chapi satyam tatataiva maya. And I'm not going to read the translation given here by Bhanu Swami. I think there's some problems with it, so I'm going to read Srila Prabhupada's translation in a moment. But Sanatana Goswami concludes, thus Yudhisthira was fully dedicated to Krishna, Narayana, Para, in order to please him. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada didn't translate the 14th chapter of the 10th canto because he left this world after finishing the 13th chapter. So the only place we can find his translation is in Krishna book. And it took me quite a while to figure out between verses 13, 14, and 15 of the 14th chapter which part of Krishna book was his translation of this verse. So this is from Krishna book. Narayana is also present in everyone's heart, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In that sense also, the Lord is Narayana, as Ayana means the source of knowledge as well as the resting place. So Narayana, the resting place of all people and the source of knowledge for all people. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the remembrance of the living entity is due to the presence of the supersoul within the heart. After changing the body, a living creature forgets everything of his past life. But because Narayana, the supersoul, is present within his heart, he is reminded by him to act according to his past desire. Lord Brahma wanted to prove that Krishna, so that's actually Prabhupada's translation of that verse, and then Prabhupada's giving his commentary. Lord Brahma wanted to prove that Krishna is the original Narayana, that he is the source of Narayana, and that Narayana is not an exhibition of the external energy Maya, but is an expansion of his spiritual energy. The activities of the external energy, or Maya, are exhibited after the creation of this cosmic world, and the original spiritual energy of Narayana was acting before the creation. So the expansion of Narayana, from Narayana to Karanadakashai Vishnu, from Karanadakashai Vishnu to Garbhodakashai Vishnu, from Garbhodakashai Vishnu to Kshirodakashai Vishnu, and from Kshirodakashai Vishnu to everyone's heart, are actually Krishna's expansions, manifestations of his spiritual energy. They are not conducted by the material energy, therefore they are not temporary. Anything conducted by the material energy is temporary, but everything executed by the spiritual energy is eternal. So we see Srila Prabhupada and Srila Sanatana Goswami are really focused on the part of this verse that says, Narayana Paro Nirpa. The king was a devotee of Narayana. Bantun Jnatun Nirpam Mitra Surido Nyamsta Sarvasha Abhikshnam Pujayam Asha Narayana Paro Nirpa. In various ways, King Yudhisthira, who had totally dedicated his life to Lord Narayana, continuously honored his relatives, his immediate family, the other kings, his friends and well-wishers, and all others present as well. Was thinking a little bit about how the residents of Vrindavan, and even friends, the city friends, such as the Pandavas, they're not really thinking of Krishna as God. And they're devotees of Narayana, so in their puja, their daily puja, they're worshiping Narayana. Of course, sometimes the residents of Vrindavan also seem to worship the Devas, like Srimati Radharani worships Surya, right? Chandravali worships Durga, Gauri. And they see Krishna as just their friend. And they're just thinking of Krishna as their friend. So here it's established that although he's a devotee of Narayana, Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. So it's very interesting that Srila Prabhupada comments on this verse, how the devotee sees everyone equally because they're part of Narayana, just like we don't differentiate between parts of our body. Yeah, if there's some problem with your small toe, you give attention to that. If you break your small toe, you'll go to the doctor. You don't say, oh, it's just the little toe, who cares? It's not my nose, what does it matter? We equally take care of all parts of the body. At the same time, here we see that Yudhisthira is treating differently people according to their relationship with him. So seeing everyone equally, because he's a devotee of Narayana, and yet treating everyone differently. So this is a big struggle we have in this world. So I'm working on a project right now for the United Nations, and they've asked me to read some material before writing the paper. So I'm going through this long document. And one of the points it's making there is exactly this, that we want to both see everyone equally, and yet we want to celebrate differences. We want to celebrate differences in culture. We want to celebrate differences in language. We want to celebrate differences in individual talents. And yet we want to do that at the same time seeing everyone equally. And how do we do this? People tend to go in one way or another. If people are very much in sattva gun, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, then they tend to see everyone is a soul. Everyone is of equal value. And if people are very much in rajagun, they tend to see, oh, here's a pig, and here's a tree, and here's a person of this nationality and this religion. And how do you do both of this? Right? How do you be equipoised? There's such an emphasis in the Bhagavad Gita about being equipoised towards friends, enemies, and neutral. What person in the Bhagavatam, what great personality really exemplifies this preaching of being equal towards friends and enemies? Rantidev, I hadn't even thought of that. Yes, Rantidev. And who else? We have a whole huge section of the Bhagavatam focus on this equality towards friends and enemies. Prahlad. In fact, that section of the Bhagavatam starts, the 7th canto starts with this question of, is the Lord partial? Because it looks like that, doesn't it? It looks like that to me. It looks like Krishna loves so many people much more than he loves me, that he's partial. Right? And the answer is no, he's not. And we have Prahlad Maharaj, that was his whole objection in school. Why are you telling me all this diplomacy? I want to see everyone equally, but yet Lord Nrsingadev puts him as king of the demons. And when you're king, like here Yudhisthira, you have to deal with people differently. You can't take, a murderer or rapist, an arsonist, and just embrace them like your friend and invite them to dinner in your house. You have to put them in prison. Yeah? So being equipoised and yet having gradations. Here we see Srila Sanatana Goswami is commenting that Yudhisthira is dealing differently with these people according to their gradations of intimacy with him. Right? And so sometimes we think if we're attached to the Lord, we become callous towards all living entities. So we wrote about this in ISKCON Communications Journal, and we did exegesis on using hermeneutics on Srila Prabhupada's statement in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita about being callous, that even if a close relative dies, you should be callous. What does this mean? And often devotees think like that. Well, let me just become. They think that this means becoming hard-hearted. And or else we may take the opposite tact and think service to others is service to God, right? Many people propagate this. So people can think, well, if I love God, then I'm not going to love anybody. I'm just going to be callous. Or people may think, well, I don't have to love God. I can just love everybody. So we have these kind of apparent dichotomies. So we're going to look at this in 3 different ways. That, first of all, if I try to please everyone, I please no one. But if I please God, I please everyone. And that the devotee has equal vision, at the same time treats others appropriately, and that we should have neutrality towards friends, enemies, and the neutral. At the same time, we have degrees and kinds of friendship. Those things are operating seemingly in opposition to each other. So trying to please everyone pleases no one. Anyone here successful at pleasing other jivas in this world, 100%? Can anyone say, my parents are absolutely pleased with me all the time? My children are absolutely pleased with me all the time. Right? So I take care of my great-grandsons every Saturday afternoon. So, yesterday took them out, they were swimming in a pool, all this fun thing, right? And then I bring them home and get them ready for bed. And when I one of them goes in the shower, and he comes out of the shower completely dry. I said, you didn't take a shower. You just turned on the water. I did take a shower. I said, then why is there no water on you? Get back in the shower. He says, I don't like you. You're so strict. Right? What are you going to do? You give the kids a fun day, and they still yell at you. It's what it's like. Prabhupada would always give an example of this with, then he apologized. It was okay. So Prabhupada would always give the example of Gandhi, that Gandhi worked so hard, sacrificed so much for his country, and yet at least one of his countrymen wasn't pleased with him to the point that he killed him. That's pretty displeased with you. Or Prabhupada will say a person is going to take sannyas, and he'll say to his wife, I've served you for so many years, and now I want to take sannyas. She'll say, well, you haven't done anything. What have you done? You haven't done enough. So do we all experience this? Yes? We do so much, we sacrifice, we give so much, and still people yell at us or are displeased with us or whatever. Right? Parents, someone was telling me the other day that there are some parents, their daughter married a boy they didn't like, and she's been married to him for a couple years, they've had a child, everything, the parents still won't even talk to their daughter, won't even meet their grandchild. So people do this kind of thing. You know, you become a teacher instead of a doctor, then I won't go to your house anymore. Even the parents even like this. You know, some person's in the nursing home and they have 10 kids and none of them call. So you try to please people, right? You go fight a war for your country and you come home and you become homeless and the government doesn't even give you health care. Happens all the time. Sometimes we think that because we're in the association of devotees that it's going to be different. You know, that somehow if I work really hard for the society, if I work really hard for the devotees, that this won't be an operation, but it is. And we're also guilty of this. We also fail to see other people sacrifice for us. We fail to acknowledge. We walk past something every day and we just don't see it. Right? I was thinking I still have to be grateful always, you know, to always notice, to always be grateful, to always thank people. Thank you for doing the cleaning. Thank you for doing the cooking. Thank you for doing the gardening. Thank you for doing, you know, to notice, because it's so easy not to notice, and it's so easy to focus on the things that irritate us, and so easy to focus on people's faults. And the analogies given is that you can't satisfy a tree by putting water on each leaf. It won't work. And you can't satisfy the body by trying to put food all over the body. I mean, even they make, you know, lotions and shampoos and stuff that have food in it, right? Avocado oil or something like that. But ultimately, you're not going to feed the body like that. If you just rub your skin with avocado oil and coconut oil and you never put food in the stomach, you're going to die. So there's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam that Narada instructs the Prachetas in this regard. He says, Yato taro mula nisteshana tripyantiyat skanda bujo pashakaha prano paharachcha yadendriyanam tataiva sarvaham achuteya. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the limbs and senses of the body, simply worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of the Supreme Personality. Now, of course, we might argue with this as well. We might say, well, I worship Krishna and still people are not happy with me. And of course, the prime example again is Prahlad. He's worshiping the Lord, and his own father is trying to kill him. Again, that's a high level of dissatisfaction. So we can say like that. I mean, throughout history, religious people have been tortured and persecuted, often by other members of their same religion, because they were of a little different group. Right? I was reading about this one couple. He was a minister with the Amish, and so he was always studying the Bible, and he said, you know, there's things in the Bible that we're not doing, like we're not preaching. The Amish never preach. He said, we're not following the Great Commission to preach. So he started talking about this to his congregation, and the elders excommunicated him. They said, you're starting a new religion. So, right? I mean, you try to serve God, and even members of your own faith are going to attack you if you have a slightly different form of worship. What to speak of materialistic people may hate you. So what does this mean? Basically, what it means is we're not obligated to anyone. Right? Yasvindra Gopa Matavendra Mahoswakamar Bandhanu Rupam Pajamala Atanoti. I should recite these verses more often. Karmadi Nirdahati Kintu Chabakti Bhajan. That one doesn't have any more debts. One doesn't have to pay any more debts. One's not obligated. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that you don't have to work, you don't have to not work, and you're not obligated to any living entity. So the way that I like to think about this is my own realization, is that our material obligations are like a monopoly game with all fake properties and fake money. They're not real obligations. They're obligations that have accrued because of a false identity. That I'm thinking I'm this particular person's child, I'm this particular person's spouse, I'm this particular person's parents, I'm a citizen of this particular country, and so forth. I belong to this particular, group, and therefore I have obligations to them. And the Shastras say we do. As long as we're identifying with this body, and as long as we're identifying with this world, we do have those particular obligations. Like as long as you're playing a monopoly game, you have to follow the rules of the game. Right? You can't say, well, I'm going to play the game, but I'm not going to follow the rules. That's not any kind of game you play. It's not going to work. But you don't have to play the game, is the bottom line. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarva dharman prityaja mekam saranam vrajaham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami masuchaha. You don't have to worry. Karmadi nirdahati kintu chabakti bhajam. The problem with material debts and obligations is they're never ending. We can fulfill our karmic debt to someone and make sure they fulfill their karmic debt to us, and in the process we're going to accrue more karmic debts or have more people be obligated to us. It doesn't end. We're all looking for closure in this world. If somebody owes me money, I think, they need to pay me. If I owe someone money, I'm thinking, I need to pay them. So we're thinking like that about our karmic debts. But we can walk away from the game. We can. Sarva dharma and prityaja. We don't need to identify with any of the dharmas of this world. And we don't have to be obligated to anyone. If we please Krishna, if we serve Krishna, it's done. It's completely done. Now, does that mean that we're going to be irresponsible? Like I was just reading today in Nectar Devotion, where Prabhupada was saying how, just one time taking charanamrita, all your sinful reactions are eradicated. Just circumambulating the temple, following the Jagannath cart. He said, but that doesn't mean you can go on committing sinful activities and think Krishna is going to excuse you. So the devotee is not irresponsible and thinking, well, I'm a devotee and therefore Krishna is going to adjust everything. The devotee doesn't have that mood. The devotee knows that my pleasing Krishna means I take care of the service that Krishna's given me to do. Krishna's given me these parents to take care of, this spouse to take care of, these kids to take care of, these people to interact with as a service, but I'm not trying to please them independently of Krishna. And I don't know how to emphasize this enough, that if we can get this, we become very happy. Right? When my great-grandson was yelling at me yesterday, so the initial material reaction is, I want him to like me. If he doesn't like me, my world is over. But that's actually not true. Whether an 8-year-old child really likes me at 1 minute or really doesn't like me at 1 minute doesn't really have anything to do with my happiness. Who do I want to make sure is happy with me? Krishna. I want to make sure Krishna's happy with me. I want to make sure Srila Prabhupada's happy with me. Those are the people I want to make sure that they're happy with me. I want to say, Krishna, am I dealing with this child in such a way that you'll be pleased? Srila Prabhupada, am I dealing with this child in a way that you'll be pleased? And sometimes he's going to be happy. Thank you for buying me this toy. And sometimes he's going to be angry. Why are you making me take a shower? But I'll not be affected if Krishna's happy with me. It's not going to inflame my ego. It's not going to inflame my defenses. It's not going to cause me problems in this world if Krishna's happy with me. So if I try to please Krishna, then I'm actually taking care of everything. In fact, I'll be a better child of my parents. I'll be a better parent to my children. I'll be a better friend because I'm not going to be affected by the waves of ego. So now we're looking at the fact that the devotees are equal to everyone, and yet they treat people differently. Right? We have our very famous verse, Vijavanaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hasani Suni Chaiva Supake Japandita Samadarshina. That the devotee sees the devotee doesn't distinguish, as Prabhupada is saying, you don't distinguish between parts of your body. You don't distinguish between humans and animals. This morning I was hearing Prabhupada talk about how, you can't just be kind to people, you also have to be kind to animals. And not just like our neighbor. I remember once preaching at a Rath Yatra to this lady. I said, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Is that just someone who looks like you and has your same religion? Is that what it means? Or does it mean that you love everybody? That you don't distinguish? And Srila Prabhupada would give this as the prime symptom of a learned person and a saintly person. And my dear friends, if we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and we still don't have equal vision, then we're not chanting properly. There's something wrong with our process that we're doing. Prabhupada would say, if you're not getting purified, either you're in the wrong process or you're doing it wrongly. So like if you're eating and not getting nourished, either you're not eating real food, maybe you're like chewing gum or something, or there's parasites in your body. So if we say, well, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm taking prasadam, I'm worshiping the deity, and we don't develop this equal vision, there's something wrong with our practice. Because one of the main symptoms is that we should develop this equal vision. Krishna says we shouldn't, what does this mean? That we don't cause anxiety or pain to anyone. At least we do our best not to. We talked about this the other day, how Yudhisthira didn't, Ajatashatru, he didn't have any enemy. He didn't think I need to cause pain to anyone. I'm the well-wisher of anyone. As Krishna says in 12:13, one who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities. Envy means I want to harm others. Right? And in that same section in 18 to 19, one who's equal to friends and enemies, Krishna says, such a person is very dear to me. Even someone who harms us, someone who hates us, we still, may you be happy. May Krishna be merciful to you. May you advance in Krishna consciousness. May you learn joyfully. May everything be auspicious for you. At the same time, we have to deal with different people differently. I may care as much about my toe as I care about my nose, but I'm not going to take care of them in the same way. They need different types of care. I'm not going to put nasal spray on my nose. Right? We're going to deal differently with different parts of the body, even though we see them all equally. So this is also etiquette, and one of my favorite verses, where Narada Muni is speaking to Dhruva in 4.8.34, because Dhruva's coming with an attitude of envy towards his stepmother and his stepbrother. He actually wants harm to come to them. And Narada Muni says, every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. When he meets someone equal, he should make friendship. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world, because then there's no envy. I may see someone is superior, someone is equal, someone is in an inferior position. But I'm kind to all of them a little differently. Like charity is given to those less fortunate. I'm not going to give charity to Bill Gates. That would be absurd. I may see someone is less fortunate. Prabhupada says in the purport, generally you see someone is less fortunate, you try to exploit them. Rich people exploit poor people, learned people exploit uneducated people, men exploit women, people exploit animals. So generally we have an exploitive mood, but instead compassion to bring them up. And someone's equal, Prabhupada says in the purport, we try to brag in front of them, to try to put ourselves as superior. But no, try to just be friends. And if someone's superior, Prabhupada says in the purport, generally we try to drag them down. A lot of the news is like this, all the terrible things that superior people do. So people can go, oh yeah, actually I'm better than them. It's all envy. It's all envy. And all of our suffering is due to envy. Ultimately, we're at all of this envy of other living entities means we're envious of God. Yes. And therefore, Prabhupada says we should try to come from the Kanishta platform, where you just see God as the deity, or just God in the temple, or God is only in my temple, or my kind of temple, or my kind of religion. And the rest of life has nothing to do with spirituality. But we should come to the platform, at least of the Majjhima Bhakta, as explained in 11.246, a very important verse. Ishvare ted adineshu, balishu dvisatu cha, prema maitri kripo kreksha, yad karoti samajjhima. That the second-class devotee offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a friend to all the devotees, shows mercy to the ignorant, and disregards those who are envious. Actually, one of the angas of bhakti is not to closely associate with those who hate the Lord. But that doesn't mean we hate them. We still care about them. So it's very interesting, then, that one is equal to friends, enemies, and neutral, and yet has degrees and kinds of friendship. Right? Krishna in 6.9 says a person is considered further advanced when they regard honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and sinners, all with an equal mind. And in 6.16.9, for this living entity no one is dear, nor is anyone unfavorable. He makes no distinction between that which is his own and that which belongs to anyone else. So what does that mean? They don't distinguish between theirs and others. Does that mean I take your shoes? I take your house? Well, it's all one? No, it means that I give equal respect. I don't just say, well, I'm going to take care of my things and I'm not going to take care of other people's things. He is one without a second. In other words, he's not affected by friends and enemies, well-wishers, or mischief mongers. He is only an observer, a witness of the different qualities of men. So we're not personally affected. If I'm only trying to please Krishna, then I'm not personally affected by friends and enemies and well-wishers, because I'm not trying to please them independently of the Lord. But we see among pure devotees like Yudhisthira that you have different relationships. Srila Rupa Goswami and Ujjwala Nilamani has extensive explanation. I mean, that's focused particularly on the gopis, but this is true for everyone with relationships with Krishna, that there are different groups of gopis. And in a group, there's their own group. Okay, this is one's own group. And then there's other groups that are friends. Like Srimati Radharani, she has her own group, where Lalita, Vishaka, Rangadevi, Sudevi, they're her own persons. And then she's got a friendly group, like Shamala. So Shamala, she has her own associates. And they have their own relationship with Krishna, but they're favorable to Srimati Radharani's group. They're not part of her group, but they're favorable. Then we have Bhadra. So Bhadra, she has her own group and her own followers. Each of these gopis has millions and billions of followers, and she's neutral towards Srimati Radharani. If Radharani's with Krishna, Radharani's not with Krishna, she's neutral about it. And then you have Chandravali, and she has her own group with Saibhya and Padma and her other associates. And she acts as an antagonist. She wants to see Radharani in separation. So this is occurring even within the great devotees. And if you look at it from the other point of view, Chandravali has her groups who are her group. She has Bhadra, who's friendly to her. She has Samala, who's neutral, and Srimati Radharani, who's opposed. And this happens among the cowherd boys also. It happens everywhere. That there are these different groups, but Krishna is the center for all of them. Therefore, we have the Ras Leela, everyone's dancing with Krishna. There's no material envy. But yet there's different kinds of relationships. And therefore Yudhisthira also has these different kinds of relationships. And he's acting with everyone appropriately. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. And so many verses about how Krishna manifests different forms in relationship to the devotees' dealings with him. I was just reading this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how the Lord is one, and yet he's manifested differently. Our acharyas say that when Krishna married 16,100 queens simultaneously, each form was a little different. according to that queen's way of seeing the Lord. So Krishna is responding differently with every jiva, and yet he's equal to everyone. So Yudhisthira also here is showing this. He's Narayana Paro. He has this equal vision. He's not trying to please people independently of Krishna, but because he's a devotee of the Lord, he knows how to please everyone appropriately in service in different ways. And those two things can only be harmonized in bhakti. The materialistic people cannot figure out how to harmonize this. They're writing a 247-page paper, wonderful paper, that becomes United Nations policy, but they can't institute it. They can't institute it. When they try to see everyone equally, they do this by trying to destroy different cultural and individual differences. And when they try to see people separately, then they see people in opposition to one another. They go to what's called critical theory or conflict theory of exploitation. They can't figure out how to do it, but the devotees do. And of course, the model is in the spiritual world, where Krishna is the center, everyone loves Krishna, everyone's trying to please Krishna, there's no envy, there's no malice, everyone is everyone's well-wisher. And at the same time, there's different gradations of relationships, there's different types of relationships with Krishna and with each other. So this is the kind of way that we want to have our ISKCON society. What did Prabhupada call it? What was his little sutra? Unity and diversity. And he told the GBC, though I don't think you guys actually do it, that every year in Mayapur you should spend 3 days talking about unity and diversity. And sometimes we get so caught up in crisis management, and who's going to fix this thing and who's going to clean this thing, and that we lose sight that this is a Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. How does Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva manifest practically? How does it go from some theological, philosophical idea that we're all one and yet we're all different simultaneously and completely? By having this unity and diversity. That for everyone the center is Krishna. I'm trying to please Krishna. I'm not trying to please jivas independent of Krishna. I don't think of my relationship with any other jiva or any other object independent from Krishna. I'm only trying to please Krishna. Bhishma defines prema as Krishna as your only object of love. And yet when you do that, you love everyone. And you know how to relate with everybody without difficulties. So this is something to meditate on. Who am I trying to please? Who is my center? What is my identity? How can I deal with everyone as a part and parcel of Krishna appropriate to their relation and their relation with me and their service, and yet always be an equal well-wisher? So questions, comments, objections, corrections? Yes, Prabhu. That is a nice verse, huh? That is 6:16:9. 6:16:9 Bhagavatam. Very much relates to Krishna's verse in the 5th chapter and in the 13th chapter, how while we're doing everything in this world, we're just an observer. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Kanvanda Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrasya
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Namo Vishnu Vajaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Macha Day Nivaseshasun Yavani Pashacha Desatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadana Sivasati Gaurvata Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadana Sivasati Gaurvata Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadana Sivasati 널 받든 나 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Goloka Nana Goloka Nana Radhe. Radha Goloka Nana Goloka Nana Radhe. Jaya Radha. Hey, Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Naya Radhe, 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 Naya Radhe. Shri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnu Pad.
Shreya Kaira Vyachandrikavi Taranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Nihmita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishamihat Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavadad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishameva Babada Kripayada Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galashu Darya Varanam Gad Gadarudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Bravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahiname Ashlisha Padamritam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yata Tatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Pranatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, Out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of... Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Shasika Ki Jai.
So, Champaka addressed the deities today, and flowers are amazing, and it's almost like Mukta Charita, where even the cows get a garland. Of course, pearls. Flowers look like pearls. So, yeah, the flowers, color combination, and the dressing is done well. And the peacock. Yeah.
Their pets to everyone. So yeah, I want to thank Swastika Mataji for doing Krishna's Alankar. And yeah, we have some new pets who just arrived. The cow is Vamsi Priya, calf actually, she's still a baby. And she's Vamsi Priya. The dancing peacock is Sundara, and this peacock is Nilakanta. So they arrived just 2 days ago. And they're celebrating the fact that we're finally getting rain in New Goloka.